You know this face. I mean, if you were watching TV at all in the 2000s, you definitely know this face. For millions of us, he was Ted Mosby, the guy at the heart of a massive pop culture phenomenon. For 9 whole seasons, he was sitcom royalty. But after the show ended, a question started popping up everywhere.
Yeah, that's the one. What happened to the guy who played Ted Mosby? After a run that was, well, legend, wait for it, dairy, one of TV's biggest stars kind of seemed to step back from the limelight. So what was it? Did he just fade away? Or was there a much bigger story playing out behind the scenes? Let's get into it. The thing is, being Ted Mosby was both the best thing that ever happened to Josh Radnor's career and also its biggest hurdle, you know? It was a classic double-edged sword. Sure, you're the star of a smash hit show, but then how do you ever get people to see you as anyone else?
And you really have to appreciate the commitment here. We're talking about nearly a decade where his entire life was that show. It's an all-in, all-consuming job that doesn't leave much room for anything else. So when it was over, he had a huge choice to make. Does he try to find another Ted Mosby, or does he do a hard pivot?
And this, right here, is the key to the whole story. Radnor's pivot away from big mainstream roles wasn't some kind of career slump. Nope, it was a choice. A very deliberate, very conscious strategy to run as far as he could from the type of character he was famous for. And you don't have to take my word for it, he said it himself. He came up with what he called a How I Met Your Mother algorithm. Basically, if a role came his way and it felt anything like Ted, he would just pass on it. He was actively hunting for parts that would completely shatter that image.
And wow, this timeline really shows you he wasn't kidding. Just look at these roles. A doctor during the Civil War, a super passionate high school drama teacher, and then, get this, a Nazi hunter in the 1970s. Pretty sure none of those guys are sitting around McLaren's pub talking about finding the one. He was making a point.
So, okay, if he wasn't chasing the next big sitcom role, what was he doing? Well, the answer is pretty much everything else. He wasn't just sitting by the phone waiting for the perfect script. He was out there becoming a totally different kind of star, a creator with his hands in all sorts of projects.
This right here nails it. The common thinking was that he just vanished. But the reality? Oh, it is so much more interesting. While everyone was asking where Ted Mosby went, Josh Radnor was busy directing award-winning films, starring in plays on Broadway, and even touring as a musician.
Let's start with the directing. I mean, if you're trying to break away from a character, what better way than to literally write and direct your own stories, right? You take total control of the narrative, and that's exactly what he did.
And he wasn't just playing around either. His very first film as a director, Happy Thank You More Please, won the Audience Award at the Sundance Film Festival. That is a huge deal. His next movie, Liberal Arts, was also a critical hit. He was proving he was way more than just a sitcom actor. At the same time, he was going back to one of his first loves, the theater. For an actor who really wants to dig deep and tackle some meaty, complex roles, there's just no better place to do it than on a live stage.
And just look at the resume. He starred on Broadway in a Pulitzer Prize-winning drama. He was Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors. And just this year, he was in a super intense play about the Israel-Palestine conflict. I mean, this is serious, heavy-hitting work.
Okay, so on top of the directing and the Broadway shows, as if that wasn't enough, he also built an entirely new career for himself as an indie musician. He started out by forming a duo with the awesome Australian musician Ben Lee, and they put out a couple of great folk pop albums. Then he went solo, released 2 more albums of his own, and started touring all over the country. He actually became a working musician. It's incredible. So you can see his professional world was just expanding in all these cool new directions. But that was only part of the story. At the same time, his personal life was shifting in a really big way too. He was building a life that was about more than just Hollywood. And you know, nothing shows this shift better than the story of how he met his wife. This is not your typical Hollywood romance. Let's just say it was a very unconventional meet-cute.
Okay, you have to hear this story. So it's 2022, he's at a meditation retreat, and after a guided psychedelic experience, he sees this woman, Jordana Jacobs, and a voice just pops into his head and says, "That's her, that's your woman." Turns out, she felt something similar, and in early 2024, they got married. Wild, right?
And with all this going on, he's also made a point to use his platform for good. He's really active in philanthropy, supporting causes he believes in, everything from prisoner education programs to getting the old HIMYM gang back together for a fundraiser. He also found a really cool way to connect directly with people.
He started a Substack newsletter where he just writes. He shares his thoughts on life, on fame, on art. It's a way for him to speak right to his audience with no filter.
So after all of this, after building this rich, creative, and personal life completely separate from his sitcom past, something really fascinating happened. He was finally ready to look back. He was ready to come full circle and make peace with the character that started it all. But this time, on his own terms.
You heard that right. After spending years intentionally moving away from Ted Mosby, he decided to dive right back into the deep end. He launched a podcast to rewatch and break down every single episode of How I Met Your Mother.
It's called How We Made Your Mother, and he co-hosts it with Craig Thomas, one of the show's creators. And it's not just some simple rewatch. They get into it. They analyze how the jokes and storylines have aged, and they spill all sorts of amazing behind-the-scenes stories.
And I think this quote from him just says it all. This isn't about trying to recapture the old glory days. It's a really mature look back at the journey, who they were then, who they are now, and what they learned along the way. It's a perspective you can only have after you've had some distance.
So when we ask that question, what happened to Josh Radnor, the real answer is he didn't disappear, he grew, he diversified. He built this incredible life filled with art and love and purpose that's so much bigger than just one character. Which kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. In a world obsessed with sequels and typecasting, maybe Josh Radnor has actually shown us what a truly successful career can look like.